So in this video, we are going to study about the rest of the group of drug that comes under mixed arterial and venous vasodilator. So already we have studied about the direct acting mixed arterial and venous vasodilator, wherein which we studied about sodium nitroprusside and organic nitrates. The second group of drug are drugs acting on the RAS, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Under that we get ACE inhibitors, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor, ARBs, angiotensin receptor blocker, and renin inhibitors. So under that the first group of drugs are ACE inhibitors. See, already it is covered under autokites. So for this section we will just highlight the important aspects related to the vasodilation only. So ACE inhibitors, before that we should know the normal physiology of this RAS system. See, you know angiotensinogen is a precursor molecule. It gets converted into angiotensin 1. How it is get converted? It is by the action of renin. So how the renin is secreted? Renin is secreted from the juxtaglomerular apparatus whenever there is sympathetic stimulation. See, whenever there is sympathetic stimulation, it acts on the beta 1 receptor, releases renin. This renin in turn converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. And angiotensin 1 gets converted into angiotensin 2 with the help of enzyme angiotensin converting enzyme. And this angiotensin 2, you know, it is a potent vasoconstrictor. As a result, it increases the blood pressure. Another effect of angiotensin 2 is it increases aldosterone secretion and causes sodium and water retention. As a result, it also increases the blood pressure. So this is the normal physiological mechanism. Now we shall see what this ACE inhibitor will do. See, angiotensin converting enzyme, it is also called as peptidyl dipeptidase, or also called as, if you remember under autokites, what do you call this peptidyl dipeptidase? As kininase 2, if you remember. Okay. So what is the function of ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme? You know, conversion of AT1 to AT2. And the other function of angiotensin converting enzyme, or if I tell this name, you will remember, peptidyl dipeptidase or kininase 2. The other function of this kininase 2 is the metabolism of another autokine, bradykinin. So it is also involved in the inactivation of bradykinin. See, whenever there is inhibition of this enzyme, two things will happen. One is it will inhibit conversion of AT1 to AT2, one thing, and it will inactivate the metabolism of bradykinin. As a result, there will be decreased level of angiotensin 2, no formation of angiotensin 2, and there will be increase in the level of bradykinin. Along with that, there is a decrease in aldosterone amount. So net together, what it is going to cause? It is going to cause vasodilatation. See, angiotensin 2 is a potent vasoconstrictor. As inhibition of angiotensin 2 formation, vasodilatation. You know, bradykinin, it is a potent vasodilator. Increase in its level causes vasodilatation. Decrease in the aldosterone decreases the sodium and water retention. Again, it causes decrease in the blood pressure. So here there will be decrease in the blood pressure, and the important thing here is it will decrease the blood pressure without causing the reflex tachycardia or increase in the cardiac output. And this reflex tachycardia and increase in the cardiac output, this is a much debated one. See, why angiotensin decreases the blood pressure without causing reflex tachycardia? That is a much debated question. So you can throw more light on this section if you refer the other things. But as far as concerned this section, see, why it decreases the reflex tachycardia or increase in the cardiac output is, see, this angiotensin, it used to increase the release of norepinephrine from the sympathetic nerve ending. So this angiotensin 2, it used to increase the release of norepinephrine from the sympathetic nerve ending. So whenever there is inhibition in the formation of angiotensin 2, that means there will be inhibition in the norepinephrine release from the sympathetic nervous system. So that might lead to the abolition of this reflex tachycardia and the amount of cardiac output. That is one of the explanation for this mechanism. But again, it's a much debated one. So many review literatures are there regarding this. You can go through that. And the examples of ACE inhibitors are enalapril, captopril, benazepril, and lisinopril. Among that, captopril is the first ACE inhibitor that is being used. And you know, this ACE inhibitors classified into different sections that we have already studied under the autokites. And the adverse drug reaction, it causes cough, angioedema, postural hypotension, hyperkalemia. Why it causes cough and angioedema? It is to do with the bradykinin. See, bradykinin stimulates cough and angioedema. Since it causes potent vasodilation, it causes angioedema. Why postural hypotension? Both artery and venous pooling. So postural hypotension and orthostatic hypotension. Why hyperkalemia? It is to do with aldosterone, decrease in the aldosterone, so calcium, potassium level will be higher in the blood. Clinical uses, use it to treat hypertension. Then the second group of drugs under drug acting on RAS system are the ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers, are also called as angiotensin receptor antagonist. Avitides, see angiotensin 2, after its formation, it will act on the angiotensin type 1 receptor, AT1 receptor mainly, and brings about vasoconstriction. So if you use this blocker, it blocks the AT1 receptor, so no attachment of angiotensin 2 with this receptor, no vasoconstriction. So it is the mechanism of action. What is the contrasting feature between ARBs and ACE inhibitors is, here there will be no increase in the level of bradykinin. That factor will not there in the ARBs. So no side effect like cough and angioedema when we use ARBs. Okay. So no beneficial effect, no side effects associated with ACE inhibitor in case of ARBs. What are the examples? Losartan, all sartans. See, so many suffixes you can find here. See, all sartans come under ARBs. All prils will come under ACE inhibitors. Okay. Sartans, losartan, irbesartan, candesartan, telmisartan, valsartan. See, day by day, many companies will come out with new drugs. So you should remember the sartan suffix. So if anything drug comes and ends up with sartan, so suddenly it should come into our mind, it comes under ARBs. So block AT1 receptor, difference is no inhibition of bradykinin inactivation. Then the third group of drugs are direct renin inhibitor. You know the examples are aliskiren and ramikiren. So you know the explanation why angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor does not cause reflex tachycardia, because inhibition of angiotensin 2 leads to inhibition in the norepinephrine release from the sympathetic nerve ending. Okay, that's the explanation for this. And the next group of drug under mixed arterial and venous vasodilator is drugs acting on the adrenergic system, right? So adrenergic system is one of the system which regulates the blood pressure. Okay, that's the reason why this group of drugs also considered under vasodilator. So third group of drug under mixed arterial venous vasodilator, drugs acting on adrenergic system, wherein which the first group of drugs are alpha adrenoceptor antagonist. See, under alpha receptor you get alpha 1 and alpha 2 receptor. So similarly we get non-selective adrenoceptor antagonist, selective adrenoceptor antagonist. So it is more preferred. Selective is more preferred than non-selective alpha blocker. So what are the non-selective alpha blocker? Phenoxybenzamine. See, Dale's vasomotor reversal phenomenon we observe with this phenoxybenzamine. So non-selective alpha blocker like phenoxybenzamine, phentolamine, they are not used. Why they are not used as vasodilator? See, no doubt it decreases blood pressure, but along with that it increases the reflex tachycardia and increase in the heart rate, much more increase in the tachycardia and in the heart rate. Why it is so? See, it is blocking alpha 1 receptor, no doubt. See, alpha 1 receptor mainly causes vasoconstriction. By blocking alpha 1 receptor, fine, you are causing vasodilation. So there is another receptor. For a non-selective alpha blocker, it not only blocks alpha 1 receptor, it will also block alpha 2 receptor. You know what is the role of alpha 2 receptor? It is an autoreceptor, fine. Auto inhibitory receptor, that is the problem. See, agonist of alpha 2 receptor, no problem, it will inhibit the release of norepinephrine. If you are antagonizing the alpha 2 receptor, that means you are antagonizing its role. That means it will increase the norepinephrine release. If you inhibit alpha 2 receptor, if you inhibit an inhibitory receptor, the net effect will be excitation. So it will increase the norepinephrine release, ends up with increase in the reflex tachycardia and heart rate. That's the reason why selective alpha 1 blocker is much preferred over non-selective alpha blocker as far as vasodilation and decrease in the blood pressure are concerned. So prazosin is more preferred than these two drugs, terazosin, doxazocin. Here also suffix zosins. See, same so many zosins. See, if you go and check in the pharmacy now, see, doctors will be prescribing these drugs, but they may not be prazosin and terazosin. So a newer drugs might come into the market, but we should remember the suffix zosins. Any zosins that will come under alpha 1 blocker only. Prazosin, which is a prototype drug here, decreases the blood pressure, relaxes both arteries and vein, don't cause long-term tachycardia, given through oral route. Since there is first pass effect, lesser bioavailability, tolerance will be there if you use it for longer time. Then mixed alpha and beta blocker, second group under drugs acting on adrenergic system. See here also you might ask me a question. See, mixed alpha and beta blocker. See, what about alpha 1 and alpha 2, sir? If it blocks alpha 2, again there will be very increase in the reflex tachycardia, right? No, the ratio of the preference in blocking alpha 1 receptor will be higher than the alpha 2. So that's the reason why we can use it to treat blood pressure very easily, this mixed alpha and beta blocker. One of the important usage of this alpha and beta blocker is you don't find reflex tachycardia when we use alpha and beta blocker. Why? Because whenever there is compensatory sympathetic stimulation, how it acts on the heart? It acts by acting mainly on the beta 1 receptor. Since you are using a beta blocker also, see this labetalol and carvedilol not only blocks alpha 1 receptor, it will also block beta 1 receptor, right? So as a result, it will be decrease in the tachycardia. So it decreases the blood pressure, causes vasodilation, mainly to do with alpha receptor blockage. Why there is decrease in the reflex tachycardia? It is also blocking beta receptor. One of the additional benefit of using alpha and beta blocker. Then the next group of drug under drugs acting on adrenergic system is adrenergic neuron blocking drug. See, adrenergic neuron blocking drug, anything that is to do with the release of neurotransmitter from the sympathetic nerve ending, that is considered under adrenergic neuron blocking drug. In that, the important drugs are methyl dopa. You know methyl dopa. See, methyl dopa will lead to formation of pseudo neurotransmitter methyl norepinephrine, right? And this methyl dopa or methyl norepinephrine, it is a preferential alpha 2 agonist, methyl norepinephrine. So methyl norepinephrine is an alpha 2 agonist. You know the role of alpha 2 agonist. It increases the norepinephrine release, decreases the blood pressure. Then guanethidine. Then the reserpine. Guanethidine, you know its action. It inhibits the norepinephrine release from the vesicle. Then reserpine. See, reserpine, very important role of reserpine, the mechanism of action of reserpine is it inhibits the transport of dopamine into the synaptic vesicle, right? So reserpine inhibits the transport of dopamine into the synaptic vesicle. That means dopamine will not get converted into the norepinephrine. It is not going to come into the synapse. So that's the role of reserpine, decreasing the blood pressure. Then the fourth group of drug under drugs acting in adrenergic system is adrenergic agonist. See, under adrenergic agonist, which is the agonist that is used as a vasodilator, alpha 2 agonist, not alpha 1 agonist. If you use alpha 1 agonist, it will lead to vasoconstriction. So alpha 2 agonist. Alpha 2 agonist, the commonly used drug are clonidine and guanabens, and that the prototype drug is clonidine. See, clonidine, when we use this clonidine, if you remember, clonidine initially causes vasoconstriction. Why it causes initially vasoconstriction? Because you get two types of alpha 2 receptor, alpha 2A and alpha 2B. See, alpha 2A is present at the presynaptic nerve ending, alpha 2B is present at the postsynaptic nerve ending. See, initially when we use clonidine, it will bind with alpha 2B and causes vasoconstriction. Okay. Afterwards, subsequently, it's going to bind with alpha 2A, then it decreases the release of norepinephrine from the presynaptic nerve ending, and then the role of vasodilation comes into the picture. That's the reason why initial vasoconstriction, then the vasodilation. Then my next question is xylazine. See, xylazine is it's a good alpha 2 agonist, you know, very commonly used sedative, but not regularly used as vasodilator. You don't see xylazine word under vasodilator, although it is a classical alpha 2 agonist. Why it is so? Assignment question, okay? Then the next group of drugs under drugs acting on RAS system are miscellaneous. Under miscellaneous, we get different drug names, and each drug's name they pick for the objective questions. So very commonly they pick these names for asking in the objective questions. Mainly they concentrate on its mechanism of action. Zeaxanthins or methylxanthine is the first example. Avitax, See, methylxanthine, it mainly, you know, its action is phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibition. As a result, it causes vasodilation. See, another thing is it causes antagonism of vasoconstriction action of adenosine. See, adenosine, it is one of the neurotransmitter. So this caffeine or theophylline, see, caffeine, theophylline, the major action of why this caffeine is a CNS stimulant. See, why we drink coffee early in the morning? It stimulates the CNS. How it stimulates the CNS? It is by antagonizing the adenosine receptor. See, adenosine is a very important neurotransmitter that induces sleep. The major induction of sleep are our circadian rhythm. How we wake up at correct time and sleeps at correct time. So it is a circadian rhythm mainly regulated by this adenosine, which induces sleep. By antagonizing this adenosine receptor, caffeine or theophylline used as a CNS stimulant. But this is an unclear mechanism. In the textbook, they are told the vasodilation is due to antagonism vasoconstriction action of adenosine. But adenosine, as such, adenosine agonist causes vasodilation. So that's an unclear thing. So refer with in another textbook. But as far as vasodilation by xanthines are concerned, it is by phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibition only. Okay. Then papaverine, second drug, how it causes vasodilation? It is by inhibition of phosphodiesterase enzyme and by calcium channel blockade. So it is a natural opium, papaverine. Then nicotinic acid, it is also called as niacin and vitamin B3. It is mainly used to treat peripheral vasospasm like frostbite. See, when you go to a colder region, so there will be frostbite. So there will be spasm of the extremities. The fingers get stone hard. So that condition you call it as frostbite. Raynaud's condition, the same thing. There will be vascular spasm at the extremities. The extremities will be devoid of the blood supply. So that condition you call it as Raynaud's condition. So for these conditions, preferentially we use this nicotinic acid or vitamin B3. So it's a natural medicine also used to treat blood pressure and lower the LDL cholesterol. The major side effect being it causes heart flush. Since it causes vasodilation, it causes heart flush. Then nicorgolin. See, nicorgolin, it is a ergot alkaloid and it is a alpha receptor. It causes alpha receptor blockade and also serotonin and dopamine receptor blockade. And it increases the arterial blood flow to the brain. As a result, there will be increased oxygen and glucose utilization at the brain. That's the reason why it is used to treat senile dementia also. Nicorgolin. Then dipyridamole. See, dipyridamole, it inhibits thrombus formation by inhibiting thromboxane synthase. You know thromboxane synthase involved in the formation of thromboxane, which causes thrombus formation. By inhibiting this enzyme, it inhibits the thrombus formation when given for a longer time. And it also causes vasodilation. See how it causes vasodilation? It inhibits adenosine uptake to the cell. That is very important. See, if adenosine at the synapse, if it is taken back into the cell, this adenosine will be metabolized. If the uptake is inhibited, very much similar to the uptake mechanism of norepinephrine. See, norepinephrine uptake mechanism back into the cell, it will get metabolized by MAO enzyme, right? So similarly, adenosine, when it is uptaken, it will get metabolized. So this dipyridamole, it inhibits the adenosine uptake, and you know adenosine effect. If it is increased in the synapse, it causes vasodilation. Dipyridamole, that it's also an important effect, dipyridamole. Then sildenafil, I told you sildenafil marketed as Viagra, so very commonly used for erectile dysfunction in case of male. Along with that, it also used to treat pulmonary artery hypertension. Why it is used for pulmonary artery hypertension? Preferential venous vasodilation. Since it causes preferential venous vasodilation, it decreases the preload. As a result, it is used to treat pulmonary artery hypertension. Okay, what is the mechanism of action of sildenafil? So for my MUSC Viva question, the external examiner asked me this question: what is the mechanism of action of sildenafil? So that's why my favorite drug also, not my favorite drug, favorite question. So sildenafil, it inhibits the phosphodiesterase type 5 enzyme, cyclic GMP dependent. So inhibition causes vascular relaxation. It improves the symptoms of right-sided heart failure. See why it improves the symptoms of right-sided heart failure? It decreases the preload. So that's the reason why it improves symptoms of right-sided heart failure. And selective action, Since why selective action? Because of selective distribution of phosphodiesterase 5 enzyme, it is having selective action. It is not going to cause vasodilation, where and when it doesn't cause selective, it doesn't cause a generalized vasodilation in all the parts. So in selective part, it used to cause the vasodilation. And the next drug is moxonidine. See, moxonidine is a new generation centrally acting vasodilator. It is an agonist at the imidazoline receptor. See, imidazoline receptor is present at the CNS. See, stimulation of imidazoline receptor, it inhibits the sympathetic tone. So this moxonidine is an agonist at the imidazoline receptor. Can you name another drug which is an agonist at imidazoline receptor? Clonidine. See, clonidine, apart from alpha-2 receptor agonist, it is also agonist at imidazoline receptor. So dual action of clonidine, peripherally it acts on alpha-2 receptor, decreases the norepinephrine release. Centrally, it acts on imidazoline receptor and inhibits central sympathetic flow. Okay, so that is moxonidine. Then third group of vasodilators. See, arterial vasodilator is over, mixed arterial and venous vasodilator is over. And the third group of drug is inodilators. You know inodilator, so it will be having inotropic effect. Along with that, it will be also having vasodilator action. The examples are pimobendan and levosimendan, already covered under the myocardial stimulants. See, before going to assignment question, there is a small chapter regarding antihypertensive agent. See, we only concentrated on vasodilators here. So we will look into antihypertensive drugs also. Since vasodilators major clinical use is as an antihypertensive agent. So you know what is hypertension, increase in the blood pressure. What is its pathophysiology? So you get two types of blood pressure. One is systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Systolic, you know, blood pressure during systole. Diastolic is blood pressure during diastole. It might be due to primary reason affecting the blood vessel. Secondary reason during pheochromocytoma, it's a tumor affecting adrenal medulla, wherein which increase in the release of norepinephrine and epinephrine. You know, increase in epinephrine increases the blood pressure. Kidney problem. See, whenever there is kidney problem, what will happen? Increased sodium and water retention leads to increase in the blood pressure. Primary aldosteronism, again the same reason, increased sodium and water retention causes increase in blood pressure. So this is normal blood pressure 120 by 80. So if it goes around 120 to 140, 80 to 89, it's a pre-hypertension state. Then more than or equal to 140 or more than or equal to 90, you call that patient as hypertensive patient. 140 to 159, 90 to 99, stage 1 of hypertension. More than 160 or equal to 160 or more than 100 diastolic pressure, stage 2 hypertension. So this is classified like this reading. Then blood pressure, you know, it's a product of cardiac output and peripheral vascular resistance. You decrease the cardiac output or peripheral vascular resistance, you decrease the blood pressure. How to regulate the blood pressure? Regulate it at different sites, at the arterioles, venule, heart and kidney. How it is so? You increase the diameter of arterial, decrease in the peripheral vascular resistance. If you increase the diameter of venule, there will be decrease in the cardiac output because decreased venous return, capacitance vessel, blood will pool only at the veins. Venous returns at the heart will be decreased. When venous returns at the heart will be decreased, what about cardiac output? It will also be decreased. Then the heart, decrease in the heart pump. Then the kidney, regarding the aldosterone mechanism. Okay, that's how it regulates the blood pressure. Then by baroreceptor and RAS system, you know, baroreceptor sympathetic tone will be there. When stimulated, it increases the total peripheral resistance or peripheral resistance by arterial vasoconstriction. It increases the cardiac output by heart stimulation and increase the venous return by constriction of capacitance vessel. Like veins, it will constrict, so it increases the venous return. Okay, RAS system, you know, renin, then angiotensin 2, then vasoconstriction action. So that's how it regulates the blood pressure. Now classes of antihypertensive drug. So classes of antihypertensive drug, already vasodilators have been covered. So what are all the drugs that comes under vasodilator? Arterial vasodilator, mixed arterial and venous vasodilator and inodilator. Those all drugs are used as antihypertensive drug, no problem. Then diuretics. See, diuretics are also used as antihypertensive drug. What is its mechanism of action, diuretics? Because it increases sodium and water excretion. It increases sodium and water excretion, so less amount of sodium inside. So hypovolemia, it decreases the blood pressure. See, the amount of blood itself is less, amount of water itself is less in the body. So what will be the amount of blood that will be pushing pressure on the vascular wall? Obviously less, so it decreases the blood pressure. Then beta blocker, you know, beta blocker, you get non-selective beta blocker, selective beta blocker. Non-selective, it acts both on beta 1 and beta 2. Here the disadvantage is it blocks beta 2 also, it might cause bronchoconstriction, it is a side effect. So that's the reason why we use selective beta 1 blocker. See, selective beta 1 blocker, the added advantage of selective beta 1 blocker is not only its effect on ALT and also its effect on juxtaglomerular cell. It inhibits the juxtaglomerular cell. As a result, it inhibits the renin release, right? The angiotensin mechanism will also be inhibited here. So more preferably, cardioselective beta 1 blockers are also used as antihypertensive agent, metoprolol and atenolol. And this group of drug, cardioselective beta 1 blocker, it is a first line of treatment for hypertension. See, if you go to any of your grandfather, father or mother, you ask them what is the drug they are using for hypertension. So preferably this drug will be there in their prescription list. So it is a first line of treatment to treat hypertension. So this is one of your assignment question. Why these drugs are more preferred than vasodilators and diuretic? Okay, that will be your assignment question. So I think you studied in detail about this vasodilator and antihypertensive drug. So in your home, if someone asks what is the action of this drug, I am taking it to reduce the blood pressure. So you should be in a position to explain them what will be its action. So assignment question. So first one, categorize pre-capillary vasodilator and post-capillary vasodilators. What do you mean by pre-capillary vasodilators? It's an arterial vasodilator. What do you mean by post-capillary vasodilator? After capillary venous vasodilator. So you categorize hydralazine, what type of vasodilator, GTN, SNP, amlodipine, prazosin, losartan, minoxidil, what type of vasodilator you categorize. Then never combine spironolactone with ACE inhibitor, justify. Okay, right? No, spironolactone should not be combined with ACE inhibitor. Spironolactone is a aldosterone receptor antagonist. You should not combine it with captopril or enalapril. Beta blockers are used as vasodilator, true or false? Then sodium nitroprusside produces metabolic acidosis if there is overdosage, justify. Then define afterload and preload. You refer any textbook, they will give you a nice definition of afterload and preload. But the thing here is you should understand it. See, basic understanding of afterload and preload is very important rather than the definition. Okay. Then the sixth question, sublingual administration of glyceryl trinitrate is preferred over the oral administration, justify. And DASH is an example of mixed arterial and venous vasodilator. Such type of questions more expected. GTN acts as vasodilator by releasing DASH. Hydralazine reduces preload, true or false, justify. Then amlodipine, it is preferred over usage of hydralazine. See, a calcium channel blocker is preferred over a direct arterial vasodilator. What do you think the upper selling point of amlodipine? Or why? Well, upper selling point is why it is more preferred. Upper selling point is what is its capacity. See, it's the highest capacity of amlodipine. What do you think the USP, upper selling point of amlodipine over hydralazine? Then prazosin. Prazosin is preferred over phenoxybenzamine to treat hypertension, justify. Xylazine also is a alpha-2 agonist but not used as a vasodilator very commonly. Why? Caffeine and theophylline are chocolate. See, chocolate contain theobromine. Chocolate contain theobromine. The chocolate toxicity or the effect of chocolate both due to theobromine only. Okay. So this question, it was asked in UPSC and ICR exam. So that's why I am putting it here. So caffeine, theophylline and chocolate, major effect of these things. As a CNS stimulant generally, since it comes under vasodilator, I am putting this question here. So caffeine, theophylline and chocolate, CNS stimulant effect, it is mainly by blocking DASH receptors. Beta 1 blocker is a preferred antihypertensive agent or a first line of treatment for hypertension than a vasodilator, than a diuretic. See, three classes of drugs used as antihypertensive agent. Either you should use a vasodilator, diuretic or a beta 1 blocker. But beta 1 blocker is much more preferred than vasodilator and diuretic. Justify with reasons. Okay. Thank you.